Jewish marriage, part 3. So last week we spoke about the commandment of procreation, and we spoke about what happens at the Jewish wedding ceremony. Now we're going to speak about today who you should not marry, and tomorrow we'll get to who you should marry. So that's the topic. Which people are you not allowed to marry? And then later on we'll speak about which people are you allowed to marry. So there's different categories of women that you're not allowed to marry. And I sort of categorize them based on the severity of the sin of marrying them. So there's different degrees of who you're allowed to marry and who you're not allowed to marry. And we're going to break it down based on the severity of what's the problem of if you do marry them, or even if you just have relations in an intimate way with them, how problematic is it? The first category is what we call in Hebrew the arayas. Arayas literally means the nakedness, and comes up in the book of Leviticus, in Sefer Vayikra, both in the end of in the chapter 18 in Leviticus, as well as again in chapter 20 of Leviticus. It talks about all the different people that you're not allowed to marry, and the expression used is like ervas, eishes avicho lo yisregale, the nakedness of your father's wife you shouldn't reveal. So the word erva means nakedness, so that became like a general term for all these ladies that we're talking about in this first category that you're not allowed to marry. They're called arayas, the nakednesses. Right? It's actually interesting that on Yom Kippur in the afternoon, so we read about these different ladies that you're not allowed to marry. The list of these different relationships that you're not allowed to do in Leviticus 18. We read about it Yom Kippur by Mincha in the afternoon, possibly to remind the person that he should refrain from doing illegal things in the sexual realm, specifically on Yom Kippur, because the person is supposed to be separated from his wife on Yom Kippur. That's an interesting idea. So the first category is these ladies called arayas. The punishment for arayas is what we call kares. Kares is the most severe type of punishment that we have in the Torah. Kares literally means to cut. Right? Kares means to cut. And what it means is one of three things. Either it means that a person's soul will be cut from the world to come. It's cut off from the continuation. Or it means that a person is going to die early, possibly under the age of 60, according to one opinion. It means under the age of 60. Another opinion is that kares means that a person's children are going to die, and he's going to end up dying childless. So these different opinions of what kares is. What kares is considered the most severe of the different punishments that the Torah gives. They call it in English, spiritual incision or spiritual excommunication. That's what kares is. So all these different things of kares, the Torah says that if you do it on purpose, you get this punishment of kares. If you do it by mistake, so then you bring a korban chatas, a sin offering. And if you do it with witnesses and a warning, so you can get either lashes, or in certain circumstances, a person can get the death penalty, a capital offense for some of these examples that I have a chart over here I'm going to show you in a moment. Yes, sir.
What is arayas?
What is arayas? So we said arayas means nakedness, but it's going to be a list of women that marrying them is considered an incest. Right? A list of women that you're not allowed to marry. That's what arayas is.
So by kares, like you're saying in general, that's what in general what kares is. The Mishnah says that there's 36 different types of sins that a person could do, which incurs a punishment of kares. But we're focusing specifically on what are called the arayas, the forbidden sexual unions. How do you marry somebody by accident?
What?
How do you marry?
No, when we talk about getting the punishment of kares, so we're talking about just having intercourse with them. I'm talking in our framework. We're talking about you're not allowed to marry them, but there's also the fact that if you have relations with them, you're also violating this prohibition, and you can get cursed. First of all, I didn't say accident; I said by mistake, right? So I think the classical case that they talk about is if one of these ladies that you're not allowed to marry is your sister, right? A man is prohibited from marrying his sister, right? So let's say you're in bed and the lights are closed and you have your sister and your wife with you and you have relations with one of them by mistake. And you didn't realize which one was which or something like that. You make a mistake. Something like that. I'm not sure exactly how to. That's the classical case how they describe the case of getting kares for this type of sin.
Would a person naturally be sensitive to the privacy?
Yeah, could be.
But if there are two women in the bed next to him, it's certainly not going to be privacy.
That's also true.
What? How do you understand?
Yeah, I don't know. So these prohibitions. Okay, so just to catch you up, Alex.
Yes, sir.
Just to catch you up, we're going through 6 different categories of women that you're not allowed to marry. So the first category is the category. What?
At least there's no men category. It's good.
Yeah. So the first category is called the kares. It incurs the punishment of kares. And we call them arayas, which means nakednesses. So there's a certain category of women that you're not allowed to marry them, basically because it's considered incest. Right? So this is the most severe of the categories of women that you're not allowed to marry, and it incurs, if a person has relations with one of these women, it incurs the punishment of kares.
And so, if you have relations with them.
What?
Both marriage and relations?
Okay, so like this. We spoke about last week that what creates a marriage according to halacha is what you do is kiddushin, right? That's what we call the acquisition of marriage, right? That's kiddushin. So there's certain women that you're not allowed to marry that if you do kiddushin to them, so the kiddushin works, but you're not allowed to have relations with them, and you're supposed to dissolve that marriage. Meaning it's effective post facto, but you're not allowed to continue, right? Then there's certain women that if you do kiddushin, the kiddushin doesn't even work at all, right? So our category that we're talking about right now, this category of kares, the first category, kares. So these ladies, if you do kiddushin to them, the kiddushin does not work at all. It doesn't work at all. You can't halachically create a marriage with these women.
Incest.
Yes,
right?
Incest.
Yeah. Mom, sister, grandma.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about exactly who they are. Another point when you talk about these types of women is that when a person violates a kares prohibition and you have a child, so the child is what we call a mamzer, which is, in English they translate mamzer as a bastard. It's not quite a bastard. We'll talk about that later, exactly what a mamzer is and what the prohibition of a mamzer is. So that's different halachas, different rules that are relevant to the category of incest, which gets kares.
Hey, Rabbi?
Yes, sir.
And you can get kares in different ways, not related to marriage.
Correct.
So if you get kares in a different way, and then have a child, no matter how you got kares, he's considered a Muslim?
No. If you had a union that union incurs the punishment of kares, then it makes the kid a mamzer.
Okay, but if you got kares in another way...
No, it doesn't, that's no bearing. It's a sin that is so severe that you incurs kares, so that type of sin, if a child is born from that sin, so then the child is a mamzer.
Is this derived from the Chumash or other sources that are later derived from the Chumash?
This is all derived from the Chumash.
Okay, and also liable for death, is that by that's just basically like God's rule, Hashem's rule.
Right. So if nowadays we don't have a whole Jewish court system, and we don't have witnesses and we don't have warnings. But in the time when they had a Jewish court system with the proper witnesses and warnings and everything, if in all those circumstances line up, then a person could be liable for death by whatever. Right. So we have this. I gave you out this chart over here. So you have all the what I wrote down as 14 different cases of incest, right? Okay. They can sort of be broken up into 2 types of women that you're forbidden from marrying. One type is that she's inherently considered an incestuous relationship, right? And the other type is through a certain act of kiddushin, she becomes an incestuous relative of yours, right? So like, let's say number one is daughter, right? So your daughter is inherently an incestuous relationship. If you try to marry your daughter, right, she's your daughter, right? But when you look at number two, your son's wife. So what son's wife is if your son does kedushin to another woman, right? So she becomes your daughter-in-law. So his kedushin creates a prohibition of you to that woman, right? It makes sense. Number three is granddaughter. So your granddaughter is inherent. Number four is your mother. That's inherent. 5 and 6 are your father's wife and your brother's wife, which are not inherently forbidden. But when your father does kedushin to a woman, or your brother does kedushin to a woman and marries her, so that creates a prohibition that now you're not allowed to marry her.
But they're not. This is not like father's wife. This is not your mom or this is like
Right.
they remarry.
Right. Number 4 is your mother. Number 5 is your father's wife. It's a separate category. It's a separate type of relationship.
That's the second wife. That's the second wife that your father took.
It doesn't matter what order it is.
No,
She could have been.
Number 5.
Yeah, number 5 could be your father's wife from before he married your mother. It could be your father's wife from after he married her. It doesn't matter. It's not necessarily second per se. It's just a different wife other than your mother.
Until they break the kedushin.
No, that's the thing. Even if you break the kedushin, so in all these cases, she becomes forbidden to you forever. Right? So let's say you have a son and your son marries somebody, right? And then they get divorced or your son dies. Could you marry that woman? No, you can't. She's your daughter-in-law forever. You can never marry her anymore.
Got it.
Right? She's always going to be that number, incest number 2, right?
So where's the aunt?
Sister. Number 7 is sister. That's an inherent prohibition.
Where's aunt?
Number 8 is one of your parents' sisters, right? So that's aunt. Your father's sister or your mother's sister is your aunt. That's one of these prohibitions. Number 9
So how could
is another aunt. Number 9 is your father's paternal brother's wife. Right? Your father has a brother from his father's side, and he marries somebody, so she becomes your aunt in that way. It's in Hebrew. It doesn't necessarily, the word aunt in English means more than it does in Hebrew. Right? In English, it can mean one of your parents' sisters or one of your parents' brother's wife. In Hebrew, it's 2 different words.
Rabbi, maybe I'm confused, but I thought maybe I'm completely wrong, but I thought let's say you're married and you pass away, can't your brother, if you have a brother, marry your wife?
So that there is such a mitzvah called Yibum. It's a whole complicated topic. I hope to cover it on Tuesday.
Okay.
But you're right. We're talking about in general. In general, you're not allowed to marry your brother's wife, even if your brother dies. Right? But there are certain circumstances where not only are you allowed to, but there's a mitzvah to do it. But we'll get to that, I think, on Tuesday.
8 and 9 are two types of ants?
What?
8 and 9.
8 and 9 are 2 different types of ants.
So what's the difference between them?
Well, number 8 is your father or your mother's sister, right? That's your aunt. That's one aunt. Number 9 is your father's paternal brother's wife.
What does that mean?
Being your father's brother from his father's side, right? So your uncle, your father's brother, but he has to be a paternal brother. So your uncle. So if your uncle marries a woman, she becomes your aunt.
Yeah.
Right. So that's number 5. That's number 9. Right. Your aunt by marriage. Right.
Is there also father's maternal brother's wife?
No. So your father's maternal brother's wife, according to the Torah, is permitted. You're technically allowed to marry her.
Is there any svara l'chalik between
Svara, I don't know, but we'll see that it's not in practice. It's not really permitted, but according to the Torah, it's permitted. Number 10 is your wife's daughter, right? From 10 until the end. So these are all people that become your relative through your marriage. You gave kedushin to a woman, you married somebody, and now her close relatives become forbidden to you because of incest. Your wife's daughter, your wife's granddaughter, your wife's mother, your wife's grandmother, your wife's sister, in the lifetime of your wife, all these people become forbidden to you because they are relatives of your wife, and you're related to your wife, so it's considered incest to be with any of these ladies.
So if that wife dies, are you allowed to take her daughter?
No.
No, once they're there.
No, once they're there, they're there. The only exception is number 14. Your wife's sister is only prohibited while your wife is alive. But when she dies, then you're allowed to marry her sister.
That's what, a lot of things happen, that in Europe that happened many times.
Yeah, in Europe that happened.
It happened many times. Right?
Yeah, it was a common thing that people, especially like if you want to like take responsibility. So like your wife dies, and then you want to take responsibility for the family. So you'll take her. Let's say she has a younger sister who wasn't married, so you marry her.
Did that happen also by the cook?
Did that happen by Rav Kook? Oh, what was it? Rav Kook married. It could be.
His first wife.
It could be.
His first wife
Was Darius's daughter?
passed away.
Yeah, it could be. It
They
could be.
wanted to keep him in such a culture. They wouldn't give him the family, so they gave him the sister. Was that?
It could be.
Sure.
It makes sense. And then we have on the what's it called, right side column. So I wrote the death penalties that you can get for some of these things. Not all of them incur the death penalty. Some of them do. Right? We know according to the Mishnah in Masechah Sanhedrin. So there's 4 different types of death penalties that the Beis Din, that the Sanhedrin, the High Court, could give a person. There's stoning, which is considered the most severe. And then there's burning, which doesn't really mean burning. It means pouring molten lead down his throat. And then there's strangulation. And then there's beheading. Right? Or
Is that zealous rage?
what?
Is that zealous
No. So zealous rage is something else. We'll talk about it in a moment.
There's no beheading right
No, so most of these cases, all these cases over here are either stoning or burning, except for the last one, which we didn't talk about yet.
So does it hurt more to get stoned than to have molten?
It's not a matter of hurting more or not. What it's a matter of is like there's I guess more of a public spectacle in putting this guy to death, and it sets more of an example, and I think makes more of an impression on people.
So stoning is more.
It's considered the most severe, yeah. And the most severe sins get stoning. A person who does avodah zarah, idolatry, gets stoned. A person who violates Shabbos gets stoned. Right? A person who sleeps with his mother, you just get you get burnt. Different things like that. It's just a person who does adultery, so you get strangulation. It's just different degrees.
What's strangulation?
What is strangulation?
Yeah.
Chanek.
Yeah. Well, what
You-
happened? What do you do?
I don't remember offhand, but basically they strangulate him.
Choke him to death.
I don't remember exactly how they do it with a rope, but I don't remember exactly offhand how they do it. But
It's not fun.
it's not fun.
It's
Yeah.
not the hanging that the goyim do.
No. It's not. The deaths that the Beis Din gives to people, the death penalty that the Beis Din gives executes is not as gruesome as people have done in other nations. Yes, sir.
So Rabbi, who would be doing the death part? Like, wouldn't that violate another rule of not killing another person?
No, but when an agent of the court is putting someone to death in an official capacity, so there's no problem of murder. It's not
the
called.
one that's killing them. Then,
Yeah,
or the people.
no, it's the court. The court
The
does
court.
it. Yeah,
Okay, so they're taking the responsibility
Yeah.
to do that also.
yeah.
How is Torah spelled in Hebrew letters?
Kaf, Reish, Saf.
Okay.
Kaf, Reish, Saf. Fine. So that's the first category. The first category, I called it primary incest, of ladies that you're not allowed to marry. And if you try to do Kedushin doesn't even work. And if you have relations with these ladies, so then the resulting offspring is going to be what we call a mamzer. Right? The next category, what?
All these 14.
Yeah, all 14 of those.
The results, Mamser?
Yeah.
Okay.
The next list I have over here is forbidden relations incurs kares. You see that section? So we have five people listed. So one is married woman. So married woman is also the same thing. You can't do kedushin to her because she's already married. If you have relations with her, the kid is a mamzer. It also gets kares.
And this is relations, so just like sex.
Yes,
We're not talking about marriage.
we're talking about sex, right?
Both people will get the strangulation, the woman and the man, or just the
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Well, it depends on the situation. If they're both doing it willingly, they both get punished.
Okay.
If the man forces her, so then he gets punished and she's off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
The menstruating woman, so there's no death penalty for the menstruating woman, but it does incur a punishment of kares, even if it's his wife.
What is the punishment of kares? What is kares?
So we spoke about that before you came.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You'll have to listen to the recording.
Sure.
a menstruating woman, if you have a child, so the kid is not a mamzer. The kid is what we call pugum. Pugum is sort of blemished, and the Gemara says that a kid who's born from a nida, so he has certain undesirable character traits. He's like especially chutzpah, has a special chutzpah, like a special boldness. He's too bold. He doesn't get embarrassed easily. So that's like considered. It's considered a pgam. Pgam is like a blemish. So that's the child of a menstruating woman. It's called a nida in Hebrew. Menstruating woman is called a nida.
Pogum is the same word for wine.
Pogum is not the same word for wine. Wine that was cooked is called pogum.
Isn't wine that when you taste wine, it's then pogum?
No.
You have to add wine to it.
That's the same. Yeah, pogum in that case means that it's not complete yet. So it's like blemish means like it's like missing something.
But by case number 2, there's still an egg.
Is there what?
Still an egg to be fertilized and
Okay, so
physically there's still an egg.
So in second, you're asking a good question. He's asking how could a menstruating woman become pregnant? I just told you that a menstruating woman, if you have a child with her, it's not a mamzer, but it is pogum, right? So he's asking how could she become pregnant if she's menstruating?
It happens.
What?
It happens.
No, so it does. From what I understand, it can't happen according to science. It can't happen because menstruating means cannot.
Sometimes I've heard of cases a woman gets pregnant while she's on her period.
I don't know, but I think that the simplest answer to what your question is that once a woman starts bleeding, so then she becomes forbidden to her husband. She has to count. The way we do it nowadays is she has to wait 5 days and then count 7 clean days, and then she goes to the mikvah. Right? Until she goes to the mikvah, she always has a halachic status of a menstruating woman for the rest of her life. Until she goes to the mikvah. Right? Doesn't matter where she's holding in terms of her monthly cycle. So you can have a woman who right now she's ovulating, but since she never went to the mikvah from when she last menstruated, so then therefore she could become pregnant, and she has the halachic status of a menstruating woman.
So it's very important.
Makes sense, Alex?
How did they prove that?
Who prove that?
How do you prove that the woman didn't go to the mikvah? So that they always have to have 2 people to see you going to the mikvah also?
Yeah, you're right. First of all, we're not talking about Bezdin proving anything. We're not talking about the court proving anything. Right? We said that menstruating woman, there's no death penalty for it. Right? This is just between you and God and the woman. Right? She knows if she went to the mikvah. You know, hopefully, if she went to the mikvah, and God knows. Right? Yeah.
It's very important for the community to have a mikvah.
Yes, it is.
You can speak about other communities, unfortunately, that don't have it.
Unfortunately. Okay,
What can be done to improve? What can be done?
I don't know. Number 3 is male on male relations, which is also kares and gets stoning. If you have a child from that, then you must be living in the 21st century. Bestiality is also the same thing. It's also kares and stoning, and it's for a male or a female. If you have a child from that, then I don't know. That's really weird.
Our cousins do that more often.
Our cousins, the Arabs, you say?
Yeah, they do that.
Have children from.
And number
2, the child born is not a mamzer?
from a menstruating woman?
Yeah.
Correct.
Wait, what?
Yeah, because he's not.
Because what?
As a West menstruating woman could be still your woman, and why would it be
Right.
a mumser if it was your woman?
Right.
Menstruating. Why would it be a mumser? Mumser is only if it's these women right here.
Or a married woman, or any.
Or a married.
Yeah.
But if
I
it's your
thought
woman.
if you get kares, which you do from a menstruating woman, and then they have a child.
The case of menstruation is a special exception to the rule that usually if you get kares, the child is a mamzer. In the case of the menstruating woman, the child is not a mamzer. Because you can technically, see the way it works is that could you marry a menstruating woman?
Yes.
Could you do kedushin to a menstruating woman? The answer is yes.
Yes.
You can. Right? You can. You could do kedushin to her. You can't do kedushin to any of these other women. So because you could do kedushin to her, so then the resulting child is not a mamzer. That's really the way it works in the Gemara.
But such a case, after the wedding, there has to be like
Yeah, fine. That's technicalities. Yeah, fine, sure.
There now?
What?
There could be a third person there.
Yeah, fine. That's just to separate them so they don't have any relations with each other. But the technical, halachic effectiveness of the wedding actually works, even if she's menstruating.
That means the Kedushin is Chal.
The kedushin works, correct?
And the Nesuin is Chal also?
Yeah.
Both
Yeah.
Kedushin and
Yeah.
both Nesuin?
Is there a chapter or parsha in the Chumash where this is primarily derived from?
Which part?
Well, if there's, I would say maybe.
1 through 14 we said is in Leviticus 18 and Leviticus 20.
Okay.
Am I allowed to write in this paper?
You can do whatever you want with that
Okay.
paper. No, I made 15 copies of it. Each of you guys could take 2 copies.
Leviticus 14 and 18, you said? 14 and 18, you said Leviticus?
Leviticus 18 and Leviticus 20.
Oh,
So
18.
what does that go on?
That's one of the sources for most of these cases of incest.
Sources. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So then we'll switch it like this. We'll do the next category.
So Vayikra, what program?
18 and 20.
To be cut off.
18, that's what we read on Yom Kippur?
That is correct. I already mentioned that in the beginning of the share.
Got it.
Yeah. The next so this was category 1 of women that you're not supposed to marry. Right? Category number 2 is a short category because it only has one person in it. And the category number 2 is a woman who you get kares, but the kares doesn't have a source in the 5 books of Moses, in the Chumash. It doesn't have a source in the Chumash. It only has a source in the prophets. And yes, we're talking about forbidden relations, number 5 specifically. Non-Jewish woman, marrying a non-Jewish woman is forbidden. It incurs kares, but that kares does not have a source in the Chumash. The source of that kares is in the prophets, in the prophet of Malachi, in chapter 2, verse 11. He says, Judah has betrayed, and an abomination has been done in Israel and in Jerusalem. For Judah has defiled the holy nation of Hashem, which he loved, and has taken in marriage the daughter of a foreign god. Right? Married women of foreign gods, from foreign nations. And he continues and says, May Hashem eliminate from the man who does this any child and descendant from the tent of Jacob, and anyone who might offer a present of offering to Hashem, master of the legions. Right? So he says, May Hashem eliminate from the man. Right? Yachreis Hashem. Hashem should cut him off. Right? So the prophet Malachi says, or reveals to us, that there is a punishment of kares for a man who has relations with a non-Jewish woman.
So this is not biblical.
This is not, it is biblical.
This is rabbinical. Though.
It's not rabbinical. It's biblical, but it's not written in the 5 books of Moses. It's written in the prophets. So it's considered. It's called divrei sofrim. It's the words of the prophets, the words of the sofrim, the words of the scribes.
So it's in the Bible, which is the Tanakh, but not in the Chumash.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So the source of that is Malachi chapter 2, verse 11 and 12.
Does that make it any less
It does.
heavy?
It does make it less heavy. You said before that if a person violates a kares prohibition, any kares prohibition, let's say, he violates it. If you do it on purpose, you got kares. If you do it by mistake, so you bring a korban chatas, a sin offering. Right? Now, this type of prohibition, it seems that because there's no source for it in the Chumash, so then if you do it by mistake, you don't have to bring a sin offering.
So why did he?
If you do it on purpose, you get kares, but if you do it by mistake, you don't have to bring a sin offering. Why what?
So why was this decided upon? What was the reason for this prophet to establish this non-Jewish woman law? Kares.
One second. Why did he do it?
Yeah.
He didn't establish it. He just revealed to us that there is such a law. This law exists by tradition. It's just that he's the one who records the tradition in the first place. And because it's recorded here and not in the 5 books of Moses, so it's a little bit more lenient.
So it's the oral, you're saying by oral law, it was revealed to the Jewish people on Mount Sinai that they were not allowed to be with
Exactly.
women, and therefore he just documented it for the first time.
Right.
As prophet.
Right. Yes, sir.
So, just asking for a friend of mine. If somebody did do some of these things and they incurred kares, then they happen to be Baal Tshuva, like at this yeshiva, what does that mean?
So
Are they still kares?
we said if you do it on purpose, you get kares, right? If you do it by mistake, what happens?
You make,
You bring a sin offering, right?
they don't do sin
Now,
offerings anymore.
let's say you didn't do it by mistake. Let's say you did it by a complete accident. What's a mistake? A mistake means I know this is forbidden, but I forgot that she's not Jewish. I forgot that there's such a prohibition. I forgot this prohibition applies to her. Something like that.
Or
If
drink
you
too
didn't
much
even
wine.
know,
If you didn't even know that there was a prohibition, right? Or let's say you didn't even know that she wasn't Jewish, right? Someone misled you, or someone, depending on the circumstances, that could be considered onus. It's considered an accident. So you're completely a person who violates a halacha by accident is exempt from it. There's no punishment. You can't be held.
not even a sin.
You can't be held responsible for something that you don't know about at all, and that you did. It was completely beyond your control.
So not even a sin.
Right. So tell your friend that he's okay.
But still, they would not like. But still, if they decide, if it happened and they had children, the children for sure would still not be Jewish, regardless.
Correct. Because the lineage of the child doesn't just have to do with the prohibition. It has to do with the parties involved in making the child and the parents. Right? So even if the mother is not Jewish, so the kid's not Jewish. It's not a punishment that because you had relations with a non-Jewish woman, so you get punished that the kid's not Jewish. It's not because of that. It's not a punishment. It's that if the mother's not Jewish, the kid's not Jewish. That's just the way it works.
Is the mother's not Jewish, the kid's not Jewish? Is that coming from the Mishnah or somewhere else?
It comes from the Mishnah. The Gemara talks about it, but it's proved from the Bible itself.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a little bit complicated what the proof is, but it's actually involved in related to the next thing I wanted to mention. That we just said that if a person has relations with a non-Jewish woman, so he gets kares, right? And that kares comes by tradition. Now there is a prohibition that is in the Chumash, in the books of Moses, right? In Deuteronomy, where it says, "Loi sischatin bam." Do not intermarry with them. Don't marry with the. Some people say it's only talking about the 7 nations of Canaan, but we understand that it's talking about all non-Jewish nations. It says, "Do not intermarry with them,"
So you have to
and
go
that
back
prohibition
to
means
Malachi.
don't have relations with a non-Jewish woman in a way that looks like a marriage.
But Moses did.
What?
But Moses did.
Well, according to tradition, Moses' wife converted. It doesn't say that she converted explicitly in the Torah, but that's what we understand. Yeah, what?
I'm sorry. For me, it's just I've always had a hard time understanding like why is it that the man cannot create Jews? Like, what you study all day in the yeshiva, you know, whatever. How is it that you're not special enough to create the Jew, but the woman can? Like, why is it inherently it has to be a woman? What does she have? What if she's not a Jew? What if she's not like a quote unquote like seminary Jew, whatever? I don't know what the word is, but like, you know, what if she's not a practicing Jew? What is it about the woman inherently that makes the Jew?
That's a good question. Maybe I'll try to come up with a coherent answer for that, and I'll try to just address it on Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay, so why do you have to rely on Malachi in regard number 5? You brought a source from Dvarim already.
Okay, because the source in Devarim, which says don't intermarry with them, is only if you have relations with them in the context of something that looks like a marriage. Right? You take a non-Jewish woman and you say she's my wife now. Now we're married, right? So that's prohibited by Leisis Chatin in Deuteronomy. But just to have relations with her, just to have sex with her, that's not included in the prohibition of Deuteronomy, because that's not called intermarrying, that's just called inter-whatevering, right?
Yeah.
Intercoursing.
Intercourse.
Yeah.
Okay, but how could this ever happen if there's an Easter Nagia min Torah.
That's a different question. That's a different question. Fine, that's a different question.
How do you approach my question?
It's too complicated right now. We'll talk about it later. But he's asking that basically all the cases of arayas that we spoke about, so they don't just involve, besides the prohibition of having sex with these women of incest, the Torah also says don't approach her, don't come close to her. And coming close involves, let's say, kissing, hugging, touching in an intimate way, whatever. So he says, how does it even start to have sex with them if you're not even allowed to come close to them? And the answer, the simple answer is that the guy violated this prohibition of coming close, and then he violated the next prohibition as well. That's the simple answer.
He's still a guy at the end.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
The next, okay, so in this category of kares that comes through tradition, right? So that means a man having relations with a non-Jewish woman. So there's another halacha that says that if a Jewish man has relations with a non-Jewish woman in public, in the presence of, let's say, 10 other Jewish men, so there's a halacha called kanaim pagibay. A zealous Jew can come and kill him, and he's justified in killing him. That's why I wrote zealous rage over there on the chart. So it's called kanaim pagibay.
But you can defend yourself.
You can defend yourself, and you're not. And let's say you're in middle. I'll tell you this.
And if you kill him, then you're going to be punished?
No, so you won't be punished if you kill him. He would only be allowed to kill you if you're in middle of doing the act with this girl, with this lady, in public, in front of a bunch of Jewish men. He would only be allowed to do it in such circumstances. And if you go around and you kill him, so you're off the hook because you're just defending yourself. This is one of these like weird, interesting halachas. The Gemara says it's a halacha ve'ein marin kain. This is a halacha, but we don't teach it, or we don't give this as a ruling.
Sure.
Right? If a guy comes to court and he says that so and so is married to a non-Jewish lady, can I go kill him? The court will tell you no, you can't. But really, the halacha is that you could.
Can they all gang up and kill you, or it has to be one at a time? Like what if like those 10 men see you, right? And one of them is like in this zealous rage. Can he tell what if he tells his 9 other buddies, let's kill him? Can they all then attack you at one time?
I mean, I guess. Technically, only one is going to actually be the one that gives them the last lethal blow, I would assume.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But the case in the Torah.
Yeah.
Zimri, was it Zimri?
Yes, Zimri.
He was inside a tent. He was inside in a tent, so it wasn't in front of 10.
No, but everyone saw what was going on. It's the same idea. There's a situation where this happened in the Torah. It's brought in the book of Numbers. There was a man named Zimri who was from the tribe of Shimon, who was having what we call hanky-panky with one of the princesses of the Midianites, and he was killed in a zealous rage by a zealous man named Pinchas.
So even though it wasn't the presence of 10...
No, so that was in the presence of 10 men. It was.
What?
It was in the presence.
It was inside
yeah.
the tent.
No, inside the tent, but it was in front of everybody, so everyone knew what they were doing.
That's called a tent closes up so that people can see. But hear what I'm asking?
Yeah, here.
A tent closes up so that people can see.
So this prohibition, this prohibition of having relations with a non-Jewish woman, even though it seems to be that it's less stringent than, let's say, the other cases of primary incest, because those cases are explicit. The kares punishment is explicit in the Torah, and here it's only by tradition. We still consider it a very strict sin, especially because of the fact, like what you were mentioning, Alex, that the resulting child is not even Jewish.
Sure.
So it's considered especially heinous sin because of the fact that the child is not.
Hashem never
right.
enters that child.
Exactly.
Everything genetically wise, everything's all the same, but
right.
the neshama itself is not. It's a different neshama.
What?
It's a different neshama, or there's no neshama period. There's no soul. Okay, fine. Okay,
do non-Jews have a soul?
Yeah, they do.
So the answer, at least the accepted answer, is that they do have a soul, but it's not the exact same type of the soul as the Jewish people have a soul.
What is the source of that? I was taking some notes, but then
yes, sir.
Yeah. So like when non-Jews have a soul, but not exact the same type. Did I hear? That's right?
Yeah,
What source is that from? Like Mishnah, Chumash?
that's from later commentaries.
Even later than the Gemara?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe. I don't remember offhand who exactly says, because that's already sort of subject to dispute. There are some people that would argue that a
Right.
non-Jew doesn't have a soul at all,
Okay.
or has the type of a soul that an animal has, but not the same type of soul that a Jew has. That's sort of how they say it. There's different ways of saying it.
Even the President of the United States.
This is a more esoteric thing. I'm not so familiar exactly with the.
Even the President of the United States.
I don't understand what he has to do with
Hey,
anything.
it's a joke. It's a joke.
What?
Even he has
Yeah, he's a soul man.
Yeah, he's a-
Okay, so of course, if you try to do kedushin to a non-Jewish woman, so the kedushin doesn't work, because the whole idea of kedushin only applies between a Jew and a Jewess.
So even if you're married, you're not married.
You're not halachically married at all,
You're not
right?
anything.
It's
You
nothing.
can just be like, I'm not married to you anymore.
Exactly.
It's over.
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
Exactly. You mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me. Okay, so that was category number 2. Category number 3 is what we call the shniyas la'arayas. These are the cases of secondary incest. This is rabbinic in origin. There's no punishment of kares, and there's no death penalty for marrying these women. It was instituted, the Gemara says, it was instituted by King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech. He instituted these secondary cases of incest as a way of making sure that people won't come to violate the cases of primary incest.
Okay.
So I wrote this whole nice chart over here, 15 different types of secondary incest. I'm not going to read all of them right now, but it's a little bit complicated exactly who these relationships are.
So were
But, like,
all of King Solomon's 700 wives Jewish then?
So yeah, according to tradition, he converted them all. But there's still, some people say that the conversion wasn't valid, or because they converted with
Sure.
not
like
pristine intentions. So then there's some doubts that you can call some certain doubts on the conversions. But that's basically the approach to King Solomon and his 300 wives and 700 concubines, something like that.
I mean, not nice. I mean,
Yeah. So those are that's a case of secondary incest. In the cases of secondary,
Who converted roots?
what?
Who converted roots?
That's a different question. In the case of,
How would you approach that question?
I'm not approaching it right now. In the case of secondary incest, so if you try to do kedushin to her, so the kedushin does work. Kedushin does work on secondary incest, but you'll have to give her a get. So like you're technically married to her, but by rabbinic fiat, you're supposed to divorce her and not remain married to her. So that's the third category. And I give this whole list. Your maternal grandmother.
It's
What?
getting way too complicated.
It is. It's
Might as well
it
just
it
don't
gets
mess
complicated.
With your family.
What?
Yeah, I get it. Just don't do it with your family.
Don't do it with your family.
Grandfather's mother. How would she even be alive?
What?
Paternal grandfather's mother.
You know,
The great grandmother, right?
See, because the Torah only says you're not allowed to marry your
lives. They were like 13 years old, being married 14.
Oh, yeah,
That's-
By the time that she's like 45, she already has she's like a great grandma.
right. But the point is, like, the Torah says you're not allowed to marry your mother, right? Well, maybe your grandmother, maybe yeah,
People can try
right?
to find a loophole.
Not that you want to do it,
No,
but that like
to make
right,
clarify
just to
the
make
rules.
sure that like you don't even go there. So like we're gonna forbid things that the Torah itself didn't forbid, just to make sure that like nobody will end up violating something more serious.
How do you, by the way, how do you spell Kedushin in Hebrew letters?
Kedushin,
Yeah.
Kuf Yud Daled Vav Shin Yud Nun. Okay. Now we're up to category number 4. Category, you want to copy the chart? Category number 4 is women that if you marry them or if you have relations with them, so you violate a positive commandment and a negative commandment. Right? A negative commandment and a positive commandment.
Is category 4 on here?
Yeah, I'm
No.
looking here.
No, it's not. It's not. No, it's not.
Oh.
This chart was just category 1, 2, and 3. The rest of it is you're gonna have to hear it verbally from me.
How many more categories are there?
We said there's 6 categories.
6 categories.
So there's this category are women that if you marry or have relations with, you are violating a negative and a positive commandment, right? And all the cases in this category refer only to a Kohen, right? All these cases refer to a Kohen. A Kohen has a special commandment of Kedoshim Yihiu Lelekehem. A Kohen should be holy for Hashem, right? So that's a positive commandment that a Kohen has to keep himself pure or holy for Hashem. And then he has a negative commandment that he's not allowed to marry one of 3 women: a grusha, a zona, and a chalala. A grusha is a divorced woman. A zona is a woman who is not, colloquially the word zona means prostitute, but in this context, the word zona means something else. It has a more narrow definition. It means both a woman who is not born Jewish, meaning she converted, right? Or a woman who had relations with somebody that she was not allowed to have relations with, right? So let's say a Jewish woman who had relations with a non-Jewish man, or a Jewish woman who had relations with a married man, or a Jewish woman who had some sort of incestuous relationship, so she becomes forbidden to a Kohen, right? So that's grusha is a divorced woman. A zona is a woman who was not born Jewish or had illicit relations with somebody else. And a chalala is a woman who violated one of the prohibitions to a Kohen or was born from such a union. Right?
Yeah.
Let's say a Kohen marries a divorced woman. So if he has a daughter, that daughter will be a chalala, and she's not allowed to marry a Kohen. Right? Halala, the word halal means like to be defiled. So she's halala. She's somebody who would be genetically or genealogically would be a Kohen, but she's desecrated or defiled from that status. That's what halala is. She's defiled from the status of being a Kohen. So a Kohen is not allowed to marry a divorced woman, a zona, which we said what the definition is, and a halala. And there's a 4th prohibition, which is a Kohen Gadol, right? The high priest, the high Kohen Gadol, is not allowed to marry even an almana. An almana means a widowed woman, right? So so let's say a Kohen Gadol marries an almana, right, and has a daughter. So that daughter will be a halala, and she's not allowed to marry even a regular Kohen, right? Because she gets that name halala. If they have a son, a Kohen with one of these people that he's not allowed to marry, or a Kohen Gadol with one of these people that he's not allowed to marry, so the son is a halal, which is the same thing. He had the genealogical, he's genealogically a Kohen, but he can't practically act like a Kohen. He doesn't get to work in the Beis Hamikdash. He doesn't get the first Aliyah, etc. Right? This is an interesting thing because there's a whole business out there of like they sell like these genetic tests, so you could do a blood test and see if you're a Kohen or not. But the truth is that it doesn't really help, because if you could take a genetic test and say like, oh really you're a Kohen, but if your great 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 grandfather was a Kohen and you married a woman that he's not allowed to marry, so then you could technically be a Kohen from your genealogy, but then you don't have the halachic status of a Kohen because you're a halal.
But
Right?
yes, I could tell you what tribe you were in.
There's people that claim that they did a whole survey of all these different Kohanim, and then they isolated certain genes which are more common by Kohanim and Kohanim families, and then they'll do a blood test and they'll tell you have those genes, so you're more likely to be a Kohen from that family.
But there's no real way of knowing.
It's not a halachically valid test. It doesn't mean anything.
Is there any more Cohens left, period?
There are Kohen, yes, there definitely
know
are.
that they are for sure, though.
You don't know that you're for sure. You just know by tradition, you by assumption. How do I know I'm a Kohen? My father is a Kohen, his father is a Kohen, etc. That's how you become a Kohen. Right? There's the story of the guy who goes to the Reform rabbi, and he tells the Reform rabbi, Rabbi, I want to be a Kohen. So the rabbi says, sure, I'll make you a Kohen. Just give me $10,000. Okay. By the way, why do you want to be a Kohen so much? And he says, oh, my father was a Kohen. His father was a Kohen. Missed the point. All right, so that's the 4th category. This category is a person who these are basically only these not basically only these are only applied to a kohen, and these are women that if he marries, he violates a positive commandment and a negative commandment. Positive commandment of being holy for a kohen, and the negative commandment of marrying these three types of women.
What's that called?
3 or 4.
Neighbor, those,
Which one?
The love.
The lav is isha grusha v'chalala zayna la yikachu.
Isha,
Grusha
Grusha,
v'chalala
V'chalala,
v'zana lo yikachu. It's in the book of Leviticus, in chapter, what chapter? 21?
Whatever you say, I'm agreeing with.
Whatever you say, he agrees with. Okay, it's in Leviticus, chapter 21.
I agree.
You're on the dot.
what must it?
You'll look at it over there. There's one for Kohen, regular Kohen, and one for Kohen Gadol. It's 2 different verses over there in that same chapter.
Where's derived from?
Yeah. Okay. So now we're up to the 5th category. Does anyone have the time?
It's like 5:12. 5:12.
Okay, so maybe we will leave the 5th category for tomorrow. Yeah?
Yeah, there's a lot.
All right, fine. We'll see you guys tomorrow.